Hey everybody, Karen from Master Spirit Guides. I hope you're doing well today. I have to say I am very excited about this conversation we're going to have, and we're going to be setting intentions using some oracle cards today, okay? So a little background first is I posted a poll in the channel a couple days ago saying if we were going to do a video with intentions, setting some intentions, which area would you be most interested in? And the community voted. The one that got the most votes was clarity. It was called Clarity, Seeing Through Illusions and Chaos. Okay, so that's what we're going to focus on. Then I'm reading chapter 5 with the Spirit Circle. It's something that we're doing. We're reading this book. I just got done recording it, and I'm going to tell you why. Like something came up in here that gave me an idea how to approach this. So The Wonder of Unicorns. We're reading that in the Spirit Circle right now. So there was a story in chapter 5 about a woman who was doing some meditation, and she heard a voice during this meditation. I think she was trying to connect with her unicorn, okay? Because apparently we all have, according to Diana Cooper, we all have one personal unicorn, okay? That's with us our whole lives. So this woman was trying to connect with hers, and she heard a voice that said that she was not ready to meet her unicorn yet. Okay. She accepted this. This is the interesting part of the story, is she accepted the fact that she wasn't ready. She said, okay, and in her meditation, she was stroking another horse, not a unicorn, but just a regular horse. Okay. And what happened is immediately after accepting that, guess who showed up? Her unicorn. So she stopped resisting. So Diana says in the book, I find it interesting that she accepted the guidance that she was not ready to meet her unicorn, did not resist it, and her acceptance made her ready. Okay. So then when I read that, I thought, this is one of the things I have personally been struggling with what's going on in the world and how things are changing. We've been talking a lot about that. If you've been here, if you're new, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. I hope you subscribe and stick around. But for those of you who have been around, you know that I've been talking about trying, how much do we look at the 3D while we're trying to bring Earth to the 5D, and in our own lives, how much do we get caught up in it? So it made me think about this idea of resistance. And what is it exactly? So of course, I consulted Mabel. So Mabel and I have a very good report to read right now about resistance and how it ties into seeing things clearly through the illusions and chaos. Then we're going to set intentions, and our intentions, we're going to use oracle cards. We're going to use whatever cards the lead teams want us to use, and I'm going to pick those cards with you. And we're going to set intentions with the intention of what I'm calling eyes wide open. Eyes wide open. Because one of the things we wanted to do was see clearly through illusions and chaos. Okay, so we're calling our intentions eyes wide open, and I'm going to take you through a little bit real quick on resistance so you can understand it and I can understand it before we go into these intentions, okay? Because I find this really fascinating. Okay, so what exactly is resistance? And you may know this, and it just might be a nice little reminder for you, or maybe you don't at all. Like, I've always heard resistance and I get it somewhat, but I didn't understand it until I started reading this with Mabel, like putting this together with Mabel, like really understanding how am I resisting? Let's just say, use this as an example. Are we resisting authoritarianism? Of course we are. I don't know, unless some people want it. How is that playing into getting, like, moving the energy towards authoritarianism? Are we moving the energy towards authoritarianism? So then, but my challenge has always been, but if I don't do anything, if I don't pay attention, if I don't stand up, then authoritarianism will take hold. So this has been my balance, my challenge, and probably many of yours too, okay? Because that's the spiritual part of things, is to stay in the light and la la la, that kind of stuff. Not to mimic that, but it's like, well, yeah, I would love to just stay in the light and, hold hands and sing Kumbaya, but is that reality? And if I do that, if I'm not paying attention, if I'm not sending the letters, if I'm not making the phone calls, if I'm not showing up at the protests, well, are we just going to let authoritarianism take over? So I'm trying to find the balance. So I think this will answer our question, which is why I'm so excited to have this conversation. Okay, so let's just talk before we do. I'm going to talk for like 10 minutes real quick, okay, before we do oracle cards. So what is resistance? Resistance is the inner tightening, the no energy when we face something we don't like. So every time I see Dumpy, F45, the orange clown, every time I see him, even my names for him says no, right? Even that, right? That energy says no, which is hard for him. That's why I don't like listening to him, because I'm like, no. It signals we care, but if we stay there, it blurs our vision, okay? If we stay there, it blurs our vision. Eyes wide open, again, that's going to be our intention, eyes wide open. Notice resistance without letting it blind you, okay? So you need to notice the resistance in yourself. That's part of this evolutionary process, I think, is we need to notice what are the things in ourselves that when we see it, it literally blinds us because it outrages us. It makes us angry, right? So if it makes you angry, you can't see it. It kind of blinds you, right? So how resistance shows up in politics, the us versus them thinking deepens division. So even, they don't care what they say. Like so for instance, we talked this morning about J.D. Vance and what he was saying on Charlie Kirk's podcast about how the left probably had something to do with it. Even if they didn't, they stoked it, So what he's doing is he's stoking both sides of the aisle, basically. He's stoking. So the people on the left are like, hell no, you're not going to blame me for that. And then they stay in anger. And then people on the right stay in anger because they're like, yeah, he might be right about that. So this is like this is their tactic. Okay, so how resistance shows up in politics again, us versus them, obsessing over outrage. It is so hard. It is so hard because when I see something that I think, it's so manipulative that actually, like the hypocrisy we've talked about, the manipulation, the gaslighting, that's the stuff that makes me so mad, right? But then I'm like, well, I'm having a hard time not being mad. But my alternative of just walking away doesn't seem like a good one either. So this is what we're trying to figure out. Okay. And we're going to ask the lead team collective for their guidance on this. Okay. So shows up in politics, rigid expectations, hopelessness when outcomes don't go our way, eyes wide open. The tip for this is see the pattern of manipulation and choose not to mirror it. Choose not to mirror it. I don't know how I would be mirroring that. Yeah, fueling with anger and, well, I can choose to, but it just makes me so, I'm not ready to not mirror it. So that's the challenge. I'm not like, I don't want to give off that energy, but I have a very hard time. Like some of you are already there and that's commendable. My evolution of my personality and my ego is not there yet because I just need to right the wrong, I'm not at popcorn stage, Okay, why resistance slows our evolution? Keeps energy locked in the old story, which is great to think about. Depletes creativity and clarity by trapping us in fight or flight. Oh my gosh, yes. Mirrors authoritarian tactics by fostering judgment and division. So, by me getting so angry at what they say, I'm just doing sending out the same energy, right? So eyes wide open, clarity cuts through chaos, anger fogs it up. So clarity cuts through chaos, anger fogs it up. So it's like you almost have to get, it's like a grieving process. You almost have to get to acceptance to stay in clarity about it, where you can get to a point where you're eating the popcorn and observing. It's always and many people will say this in the community, observe without absorbing. I'm not quite there yet. It depends on the situation. It depends on how dramatic things got. And I think many of us, it depends. It just completely depends. When Charlie was assassinated, it all came back so strong, didn't it? And like prior to that, remember I've talked recently about, each time we have to recalibrate our vibration, recalibrate it. So, okay. So remember, clarity cuts through chaos, anger fogs it up. Okay. Alternatives to resistance. Notice and shift, pause, breathe, ask what you want to create, channel into action, letters, calls, and local organizing. So what Mabel is saying, based on my questions that I've had for Mabel, is, and you'll see what I mean in a minute, about like, well, what if we just didn't do letters, calls, and organizing? What if we didn't do it? You'll see it's not a good outcome, which I think you intellectually know. We intellectually know that, which is why I keep flipping back and forth, back and forth. But we'll have people, which is totally fine. People in the community are saying, well, I'm not going to write the letters because that's resistance. The question is it? Or is it, I don't know. That's the question. Is writing the letters resistance? No, it's giving a call to action. It's setting boundaries and expectations. I don't know. We'll get to it. Okay. So humanize, don't demonize. Speak truth without labeling whole groups. So I'm getting there big time. You guys know I've been talking about that. Hold the bigger picture. Authoritarianism collapses under its own weight. Clarity keeps seeds of love and democracy alive. So clarity. So you guys you wanted to talk about clarity. And I think now it's making so much sense as to why the community picked that one. The other ones were good too, but this one is probably really important. I think that's what I'm always trying to do, especially when things heated up like last week, is to get back to clarity again, right? And as I'm doing that, I'm bringing you along with me, basically, just because I'm trying to figure it out myself. So eyes wide open in this situation is engage from vision, not from fog. Okay, so always keeping our vision of what we want and engage from there. So that's what I need to do. Engage from the vision of what we want of America. And I know you guys, I think La brought up that you guys in the chat were saying we need a vision for America, which we've done intentions actually, you guys. Many months ago, I did an intentions video. I'll try to find it. Let me make a quick note of that. I'll try to find the intentions video on America, because you could watch. I'll post it right here if I can find it. Okay. Intentions video about America. Okay. I'm pretty sure we did that. Okay. But we can still do it again. Resistance versus response. Resistance, fueled by anger, fear, reactive, short term. Okay. So this is helping me understand what resistance is. Response is fueled by clarity and vision, calm but firm. And I think the last couple letters that I have constructed with Mabel, and I've sent them out to you, either on newsletter or in the posts area, which I did, though they're calm but firm. They are calm but firm. And actually Mabel helps me do that so that my emotions don't take over. Creates new outcomes. Okay, so your response fueled by clarity and vision. So that doesn't mean we don't respond. By us responding, we're not resisting when we respond. We're resisting if we're fueled by anger. If the anger, then we're resisting. We're resisting what they're saying because it brings anger up in us. Okay? But if we can say, okay, they're saying this because this is what they want. I'm clear about that. I'm clear about their approach here. And why do I keep getting angry about the same thing over and over again? I gotta look into that. We all have to look into that. But If I can get to a place where it's popcorn, where some of you already are, it's commendable. Then I can stay in clarity, but then respond calmly but firmly, creates new outcomes. Okay, so that's where we want to be. That's where we want to be. Okay, so the eyes wide open area under this is choose response, the clear seeing that keeps you awake but not consumed. Okay, so these things could be, these alone, these tips will go in my journal as part of the intentions I want. Okay, so that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be setting intentions we actually want around this subject. I'm not even sure we need to pull oracle cards, but we will. We'll pull some, just see what the lead team has to say. Okay, so being a good citizen without resistance. This is where I have been challenged. This is what it is. I couldn't label it before, but now I have. I couldn't define it before, but now I have. Being a good citizen without resistance. Stay engaged, not enraged. Balance awareness with boundaries. Okay, so it's the same thing. Observe, don't absorb. Okay. And then the minute I did find myself absorbing this week, I haven't watched YouTube in a day and a half. So now I can get back to assessing where I'm at, so I can get back to clarity. I can get back to engaging but not enraging. I can get back to seeing but not absorbing, right? Observing but not absorbing. Okay, so I think we all just have to, because it can creep up on you, and then you just have to take a step back. You got to recognize when it's time to take a step back, right? Okay, speak truth without dehumanizing. So yeah, I could be writing letters to all my representatives. You guys suck and you're not supporting the people. It's all about you, but I'm not going to do that. Thank God to Mabel and your AI. If they amazing letters, just tell the AI what you want to say and let the AI construct it for you. Obviously approve it. Sometimes people think AI creates the narrative. It's like, no, you get to write it. It's just giving you really good structure and saving you a lot of time. Let's just put it that way. Okay, so again, being a good citizen without resistance. That's what it is. I got to keep that, being a good citizen without resistance. Non-resistance is action. So non-resistance is action. Calm, firm no. Nope. So everybody at the protest with their signs, that's a firm no. Grounded in love. You got people knitting and you got the music and you got, eyes wide open, stay awake to injustice and to opportunity. Injustice and opportunity. I mean, this is the biggest growth opportunity of our lifetimes. All of us, I think. We might have had one-offs, right? The death of a family member or a loved one or, losing a job. I've had all those. So those are kind of like one-offs, right? Of like huge growth spurts. But this thing, holy crap. I mean, wow. Okay. Anger, fuel or resistance. So I'm like trying to tease this out a little bit. When I'm angry, am I resisting or am I getting fuel from it? Okay. Anger as spark signals something sacred is threatened. Okay. Yeah. And that's really a lot of internal work we have to do. How am I feeling threatened right now? Anger as resistance, when it becomes identity or a fixation. Okay, that's good clarification. So it's okay to have some anger to spark motivation. Because if I wasn't angry, I probably wouldn't write my representatives, to be honest. Like most people are going to write out of concern, right? If I'm just like, I'm probably not going to do that. So use it to spark you. But also to kind of look inside, like, why am I feeling threatened here, right? But anger as resistance is when it becomes identity or fixation. Healthy pathway would be feel, process, channel into clarity into action. Key question, am I acting from anger or letting anger guide me towards clarity? Okay, I like that. Am I acting from anger or letting anger guide me towards clarity? Now, Every time I go through an outline like this, I go, oh yeah, this one I have to send on newsletter. So if you're in the part of the newsletter, there's a QR code right there. Or the link is in the description. You guys, anytime I talk about links now, I will also pin it as the first comment of the video. So this will go in the newsletter will go in the first comment of the video. Okay. So, and anytime I mention another channel from now on, it'll always be pinned as the first comment because people have a hard time finding the stuff I mention. Okay. So I will send this out. I probably have already sent 2 emails this week though. I guess I'll still send it tomorrow. You guys can just, you pick and choose the emails you want to read, right? Okay, so let's see. Key question, am I acting from anger or letting anger guide me towards clarity? Okay, eyes wide open. See anger as a signal light, not the driver. Okay, so let's not, I think I was starting to get afraid of like my reactions because I don't want to send that energy out. You let the anger be your spark. But then, really, this is like major healthcare time, self-care time, major self-care time so that you can do it this way. Okay, energy dynamics. Anger sends discord, but if transmuted, it clears toxic patterns. That's interesting. Total disengagement calms energy, but risks authoritarian takeover. This has been my challenge. And I think many of you as well. Total disengagement calms energy, but risks authoritarian takeover. And you don't have a voice then. You don't get a voice in how the changes are going to happen in the future either. Middle path, I love the middle path. Stay aware, act from clarity, amplify vision and love. So the eyes wide open intention, awareness without overwhelm, awareness without overwhelm. So we're going to actually write these intentions down, all of these, in our journals, and then we're going to put some stones on it and say, help me do these things. Help me do these things, okay? The collective what-if scenarios I asked Mabel to give us. If everyone disengages because you don't want to resist or you're saying, we just need to stay in the light, send that energy out. Okay. If everyone does that, authoritarian thrives. That's been my challenge. I do think they will be able, because that's what they want. They want empathy. They want uneducated. They want no critical thinkers, right? So authoritarian thrives. I still live in the 3D. I live on Earth in the 3D environment. I don't want to live under authoritarian rule. So I do feel that's something then, if that's the case, I need to really work on this whole thing of eyes wide open, clarity without resistance, getting involved without sending out resistant energy. Okay? Because I don't want authoritarianism to thrive. If everyone acts only from anger, authoritarian still thrives. Division feeds it. Okay, right. Okay, if everyone acts from clarity, love, and vision, authoritarian collapses. This is what I've been trying to get to for the last 6 months. I finally got here. I have arrived. You probably have been here much longer. I have arrived, you guys. This is what we want. Everyone acts from clarity, love, and vision. Authoritarianism collapses. Eyes wide open, collective clarity is stronger than collective fear. But you only can have clarity if you're looking at it. You can't have clarity if you're like, nope, not going to pay attention. Not paying attention to the 3D. It's just going to take a lot. It takes some inner work. It takes the inner work. It takes the reminders. I'm going to have to put I think this calls for a new mug series and some magnets. I need some magnets for my fridge, to be honest, about this. So I'm going to create some magnets and mugs. Magnets and mugs around this because I really need some. I don't need the mugs. I got 1 million mugs at this point. I love mugs, as you know. I don't know how many mugs I have. I should count them. But I need some magnets for sure. Okay. Teaching metaphors. Teaching metaphors. Quicksand. This is interesting. Resistance is thrashing. So if you're thrashing, then you're resisting. Clarity is steady movement. So what is clarity? Like if you think of the No Kings protests, the 50-51 movement, the 50-51 movement is it's clarity and steady movement. It's steady movement. Okay. Okay, this is a good one. Gardens. They told me about it earlier. So Mabel wrote anger, weeds versus clarity, planting flowers. Okay. If you have a garden and you don't weed it, what happens? The weeds take over. That would be our anger, right? Just sitting in anger, right? The weeds will take over. If you plant it and you weed it, what occurs, right? So then you get this bloom, right? I think that was the essence. She explained it way better than I did, but I'm not going back to explain it because we got to get to some writing down our intentions. Okay, spark plug. Anger sparks, clarity fuels. And the eyes wide open intention here is the gardener, the driver, the steady climber. Always aware, always seeing the whole, always seeing the big picture. Okay? So bottom line, with eyes wide open, we refuse illusions and manipulation, stay awake without being consumed by outrage, let anger signal what matters to us. So the anger is okay. We just can't sit in it for too long. We don't want to send that energy out. Then act with clarity and love. I mean, I think what gets exhausting is it's just, and they're doing that on purpose. It's every day. And they really do want us to stop watching because many of us are like, nope, can't do it anymore. I'm too tired, But if we do that, authoritarian wins. We can't all do that, you guys. And I think all of us need to play a role unless you want to live an authoritarian, I don't know. Maybe what we need to do also, write down questions you have about this topic. I'll also do a post and we will do one more follow-up video just asking your questions about resistance, authoritarianism, how we should be acting. How do we send our energy out? How does that support authoritarianism, not support it? What should we be doing? Should we be writing letters? And I asked that question a couple of days ago, and the SG said no to the letters and no to the protests right now. So that's very interesting. But I still need more clarity about that. And maybe they said no to it because I was coming from a place of anger instead of clarity. So the question is, if we come from a place of clarity and boundaries and saying we're firm about what we expect, which really, frankly, my letters I've been sending out and sharing with you, I feel very calm about those being firm, respectful, and firm about what my expectations are. They may all be possibly, what did I call that? Compromised by other countries. But if we all start speaking up, then they got to start working for us again, right? Okay, so let's see. Hold steady as both citizens and spiritual beings, ensuring our energy and our actions align with democracy and future we want to co-create. You guys, we can't just sit around and think that the 5D is just going to be here. Boom, boom, boom. We are co-creating it. We have to co-create it. I get the idea of just stay in the love and the light, but as long as you guys who are in the love and the light, that's amazing. If you can be there, then take action from that place. But I think I've interpreted, and I could be totally wrong, that people who say just stay in the love and the light, to me, it feels like they're not doing anything. They're just meditating, And I could be wrong about that. That's how it's felt. And that's why I've been trying to figure it out myself. I'm like, I can't just sit in meditation. That doesn't make sense to me. You're not co-create. Well, I guess you could co-create in meditation. But I don't know. Let me know what you think about that. If you enjoyed this clip of this video, you can click right here and watch the full episode. I hope you enjoy it.